Ninth School Lecture of the General Occult Class, 27, IV 1922, Thursday 7, 1/2 to 9 p.m., St. Sophia TM. Some essays on water were read. Next time all the students will write only one sentence of their own. You will not write someone else's thought. You will create only one sentence. You will not copy what Tolstoy or some evangelist said. You will create one sentence. If you cannot create one sentence, you are not here for the class. We do not want people who work only with other people's capital. You will put your mind to work, because we do not need all this. This one said this, that one said that, this one, that one. There must be a reason why you hate him. If you hate a person without a reason, you are the cause of this hatred, and then you harm yourself. Every energy returns to its cause. So these two poles are needed in your mind. You must be free from all those thoughts that do not harmonize with your aspiration. Suppose the following. A merchant wants to get rich, buys 100 pigs, let's say, like now, when pork is expensive. After he feeds them, these pigs get sick and die one by one. I ask, what has the merchant gained? In the spiritual world, pigs are not allowed to be fed, that is, thoughts that get infected and die. In no pigsty are such thoughts allowed to be fed. If you feed them, you will waste your time, you will lose your capital, you will also lose your disposition. Okay, another comparison. Let's say, I am speaking to you tonight in class on a philosophical or scientific study. Let's assume that some of the students are hungry. They haven't eaten for 2 days. Others are thirsty. Others haven't slept for 2 days. And others have rheumatism in their legs. And I start to tell this scientific study. I can speak very scientifically, but the hungry one, will think about bread and say, that's not important now. What's important to me is bread. No matter what scientific study I tell him, for the hungry one, the important thing is bread. The thirsty one says, water now, water, water, that's the most important thing. The third one will say, sunshine, sleep, sleep, only then can a person think. And the fourth one will think about his illnesses and their treatment. I ask, what can be achieved in such a class? And if you ask the students what your teacher is talking about, they will say, I was a little hungry, my mind was occupied with a very important question inside me about the economic improvement of the people. Another will say that his mind was occupied with water, a third pondered the role of sleep, and a fourth thought about diseases. And if you ask me, why do various schools often fail and modern society does not improve? It is for the simple reason that there are many infirmities among them that occupy their minds. The evangelical preacher is preaching in a church. A beautiful young lady is sitting. A young man comes, sits on the bench. She offers him a gospel and tells him where to read. God is love. He answers her, let us love each other, love one another, and they begin to open the Bible. She shows him one verse, he shows her another verse, and so they talk. The two return and ask them, what is the preacher talking about? We do not know. What we talked about we know, but what the preacher is talking about we do not know. When the divine speaks within us, we often deal, like these students, with other things. With food, with water, with sleep, with illnesses, we deal with poems, with sentences. All these things are necessary for you, because a person must be, first of all, fed, watered, must have had sleep and must be healthy, i.e., a student who is hungry should not come to class. A student who is thirsty should not come. A student who has not had sleep should not come. A student, whoever is sick, should not come. And when two people talk to the Bible, they should talk to each other in their homes. Now this conversation takes place in every soul, and I want you to think when I speak. You will act correctly, because the laws in which we live are not personal but impersonal. And before God, whatever you know is for you, whatever knowledge you have, or whatever social position you hold, whether you are a minister in Bulgaria or a king in Bulgaria, it does not matter to him in the least. If you want to know, the invisible world does not care what you are. The only thing that concerns the invisible world is what you are as a soul, i.e., what your character is. When an inhabitant comes down from the invisible world, he simply looks for a soul and sees whether the truth dwells in that soul. When he comes, he wants to know whether the light dwells in your mind. When he comes down into your heart, he sees what feelings occupy you. Are these three elements, light, truth, and purity, he can stop and talk to you. And for the invisible world, all these situations of ours are entertainment. When you occupy some high position or are some learned professor and solve some mathematical problem, these scientists in other worlds consider all this to be theatrical entertainment. Our science here is a child's toy for them, so much so, in your language, that they would hold their stomachs with laughter when they watch us solve the questions in one fell swoop. What is immortality? What is God? What are angels? There are such funny moments here. as when I was walking through Borisova Gradina a few days ago, and there with my magnifying glass I observed a pile of ants. They think it is a fire and make an effort to put it out. I focused the fire with the magnifying glass. The straw began to smoke. They began to secrete, to spit their formic acid to put out the fire. I removed the magnifying glass, and they were happy, they said to themselves. We have put out the fire. I put it somewhere else. They spat again and finally said, we put out this fire too. No amount of formic acid can put out this fire. No one can put out the essential, the divine in man. But this essential, the divine, has its own time, and we must use the time to develop it. You cannot always think, you cannot always feel, you cannot always act. It comes periodically throughout the year. The time for thought is determined. Sometimes a person can think, and sometimes a person cannot think. Thought comes periodically. Feelings too. You say love, he became very emotional, and feelings come periodically. The awakening of the human will, and it comes periodically. Students of the occult school must study the law of this periodic influx from the mental world, that is, the intellectual world, the world of ideas. Then comes this influx from the world of feelings, or from the astral world, and from the causal world, the world of will. And he who understands the law, he uses it. Now the influx of this energy, of mental energy, for example, sometimes it also causes some mischief, just as water causes mischief. And when does water cause mischief? If these people who live near forests ask for rivers and take them and cut down this area, and if the year happens to be snowy, there will be more rain, and there will be great floods. But if the entire area is covered with forests, these floods are impossible. Now you should know that there are such forests around your mental rivers, and sometimes you, with your inharmonious thought, can uproot all these harmonious thoughts, the forests. And then what happens to you is that you say, I cannot refrain. What will you refrain from? If you were a smart person, you would preserve your forests, but if you leave only the stones, you need at least 30 years until these forests grow again. In order to be able to refrain, a number of conditions are required. This refrain is not the kind of refrain that materialists teach, namely, you will dwell on this great law of human thought which comes. There is a current of feelings, and this current comes periodically. Sometimes these two currents, the intellectual and the sensual, coincide, and it is a happy coincidence, and sometimes they do not coincide. So I want you to use this. I notice in all of you habits from the past. Avoid them, you say. Maybe another way. Things can only happen on a certain occasion. I am often asked this question. Why don't you talk to us like that when you are so-and-so? I say, then this talk cannot be spoken. Every talk can only be spoken on a certain occasion. And every truth in the world can only be spoken under certain conditions. If a desire to love music arises in a society, that society will create musicians. But if music is neglected in a society, all musicians will die. First of all, conditions are required for any gift to appear in a person. Now you want to be gifted, right? Gifts are not created all of a sudden. A gift is an accumulation of energy in a given direction inside the human soul for thousands of years, and perhaps, in your current life, not a single gram of this energy has reached you. And if you do not add this gram to know this active ability, and if you do not apply this energy from 1 gram, your whole life will go in vain. Then you will think, such and such a gentleman is gifted, such and such a student is gifted. He is gifted because he worked in the past. Nothing in the world is without a reason. Gifted people, in whatever direction, have worked in the past and deserve what they have. So now you must develop what is laid down inside you. You stop at this question and say, can't this period be shortened? It can be shortened. One of the rules of action that you should keep in mind is, if you are in front, go fast, and if you are behind, i.e. last, go slow. If you reverse this law, if you are in front and go slow, and if you are behind and go fast, you will create a complete catastrophe. And today's world suffers from the fact that the father and mother, who are the head, go slow, and the son and daughter, who are behind, go fast. And that is why there is a karam. The teachers go slow and the students go fast, and there is a karam. The priests go slow and the flock goes fast, and there is a karam. And they ask themselves, what is the reason? I say, the reason is that the priests go slow and the flock goes fast. An American cattlemen differ from Bulgarians in that they herd the cattle on horseback, traveled through the countries of Western America. However, a huge herd of buffaloes comes and goes towards him. They run and he gallops. The Turks say, run without stopping, and he runs away from the buffaloes. If you ask him, why are you running? Because the buffaloes are running. If it stops, this herd will not stop. It will drag the cattleman with all his cattle. The forces of nature are against these buffaloes. When you come to a natural force, you will run with your horse. And who is the horse? Your mind. If you can run, you are saved. If you stay behind, you will be swept away. And that is the first rule. Now Christ puts this a little differently in the parable. When you are invited somewhere, take the last place. Why? If you do not trust yourself to move quickly, stay in the queue. I say, let me transform these words, which are symbols or quantities. What does movement mean? If you are at the head, in the forefront, move quickly. If you are at the back, move slowly. It is a symbol, a transformation of these quantities. If you are at the forefront, be good, work with virtue, and everything that you have in mind, do not postpone it, do it. If you are at the back and get angry, want to do mischief, stop, do not hurry. That means nothing more, move quickly. Only a smart person moves with great speed. Only he who is good, only love, truth, wisdom, virtue, justice, all the virtues move with the greatest speed, and all evils, all weaknesses move with the least speed. And if you have these weaknesses, do not come out in front, because you will be swept away by the buffalo herd. Now in this direction, you have to overcome great difficulties, for when the human mind and the human heart begin to work in the right direction, insurmountable obstacles will arise. And the more these difficulties become prominent, know that you are on the path and do not stop. If you stop in your haste, to sit down, like a weary traveller, under a tree to rest, you will certainly catch a cold and be late on the road. A traveller should never stop under any tree. An occult student is not allowed to sit in the shade. We do not recommend shadows. You should always bask in the sun. That is, the thought in you should be bright, sharp. You should know that you, having come to nature, must first repay it. Pay what? After all, you must pay a small tax. Do not think that everything in the world is free. Nature will force you, at the very least, to pay the rent on the house you lived in. If you have lived several existences, lived for about 100 years without paying this rent, you will have accumulated quite a large rent. And this rent lies in the fact that we must do something every day for its sake. For example, if you get up in the morning as a student and say to yourself, today at least I will put one good thought into myself, then if every day for 10 years you put one good, essential thought, all these thoughts could turn into a whole garden, overgrown with the most fruitful plants. And take the noblest feeling that we have, love. The noblest feeling that exists in current Bulgarian schools. If the most capable student offends his teacher in something, let this student think for him, he will become incapable. And if the teacher offends the student, he will also become unfit. If you bring this law everywhere in your life, it is the same. Present love cannot stand the test. For example, you listen to a talk, listen to a lecture, the teacher talks, let's say, about the creation of the world, or about the origin of the sexes, or talks about the origin of karma. Everyone can look at these questions from different points of view. They can look at them in 3 ways. If the professor talks about the creation of the world, this professor was not there with God when the world was created. These are guesses. If he talks about karma, about its origin, he was not there in the beginning when karma was developing, or when he talks about the origin of the sexes, he was not there. There are things in the world that were born, but we were not exactly in the right place at that time. Someone will say, I existed. You may have existed, but you were sleeping in your room. We may exist, but at a certain moment, when certain manifestations occur in nature, we may have been in a dormant state. And all people have this dormant state. You can attend a certain occult school, and when it is spoken, you yourself can have in mind how these forces can be developed, used, and your situation improved. It is good, or you must have the knowledge to elevate your mind or your heart in order to ennoble yourself. But that is not the meaning of life. You can have a wonderful mind and still die like a wretch. You can have a noble heart and still die. You can have a strong will and still die. Now, modern occultists say that a person can do anything with his will. This is only 25% true, but you are not the only ones. Let's say, if there are nearly 500 million Christians in Europe, every Christian has a will. However, all these wills do not act in the same direction. Suppose that 100 of you here are candidates for a professorship, and you all have an iron will. How many people with their strong will sit in this chair? Everyone will say, with my will, I can do anything. Good. What will you do? Well, let's say you have a strong will, you strain your will, and someone else has a weaker will, but he has gold and he gilds the minister's will and sits in the chair. It's very easy. You gild the minister's will and he will put you in the chair. All modern societies have observed this law. They forge their will now with iron, now with gold, but until now people have not yet applied their will with love. You still do not have the will of love. I have been testing students for 20 years here in Bulgaria, and I have not found a student with a will gilded with love. I have found many Bulgarians, but in this respect not one has been faithful to me, has not stood the test. And that is why I say that the Bulgarians, as students in the occult school, are very weak, have not stood the test. And that is why in the past, here in the Balkans, not a single school has held on, but has gone west. And now you may make the same mistake, but then this teaching will go either to the east or to the west, and if it goes, this place will have no occult significance. And if you do not set yourself the task of tempering your will now, the Balkan Peninsula will have the same fate as Palestine. You will gild the will of the minister, and he will put you in the chair. All modern societies have observed this law. They forge their will, now with iron, now with gold. But until now, people have not yet applied their will with love. You do not yet have the will of love. I have been testing students for 20 years here in Bulgaria, and I have not found a student with a will gilded with love. How many Bulgarians have I found, but in this respect, not one has been faithful to me, has not endured. And that is why I say that the Bulgarians, as students in the occult school, are very weak, have not endured. And that is why in the past, here in the Balkans, not a single school has remained, but has gone west. And now you can make the same mistake, but then this teaching will go either to the east or to the west. And if it goes, this place will have no occult significance. And if you don't make it your mission to temper your will now, the Balkan Peninsula will have the same fate as Palestine. You will gild the will of the minister, and he will put you in the chair. All modern societies have observed this law. They forge their will now with iron, now with gold, but until now, people have not yet applied their will with love. You do not yet have the will of love. I have been testing students for 20 years here in Bulgaria, and I have not found a student with a will gilded with love. How many Bulgarians have I found, but in this respect not one has been faithful to me, has not endured. And that is why I say that the Bulgarians, as students in the occult school, are very weak, have not endured. And that is why in the past, here in the Balkans, not a single school has remained, but has gone west. And now you can make the same mistake, but then this teaching will go either to the east or to the west. And if it goes, this place will have no occult significance. And if you don't make it your mission to temper your will now, the Balkan Peninsula will have the same fate as Palestine. Now let's leave that. You think only about yourself. But if you want to be students of this school, you will think what is the will of God, or what is the will of the great nature that has allowed you into its home. What is the first thing? It is, what is the will of God, or what is the will of love? Because in nature there is a will of love, and in God there is a will of love, and when this will of love comes, you must forget everything. You will leave all negative thoughts in the tail, in the back, and you will move in front with the greatest speed. Now when I say this, you can understand the question quite individually. Because you are patriots, you say, what will happen to Bulgaria? In the invisible world they are not interested in nations. The law is such. You must always know that an occult current that comes from space is a condition for a people to develop correctly. Because there is a great struggle in the astral world. If you do not unite your will with this current, you can turn it away. Therefore, those to whom you turn it away will benefit, and those from whom the current will turn away will suffer. Then I claim that the Nile River has been turned away from Central Africa. It has been turned away from the present culture, and in the future, if people come to turn it away from the interior of Africa, it will return to its original bed. Therefore, you will be careful as students not to turn away the current in which you live. Sometimes you say, I do not want to know, and I can do it without school. Without school, nothing can be done by a person. That is, you must know that if someone thinks that without school he can enter heaven, never. The earth is a school, and whoever does not get schooled and thinks that without learning he can enter heaven is lying. So, in any sense, learning is required of you. The law in the invisible world is so strict that they will not let you, simpletons, enter there. No way. For millions, for billions of years they will keep you on earth, but they will force you to learn. And after millions of years, with the greatest persistence, they will finally force you to learn. They will force you. The sooner you learn, the better. Someone says, I will not learn. You will learn. I cannot straighten my heart. If you do not straighten it, they will straighten it for you. Hear, heart, if you do not straighten it yourself, correction will come from somewhere else. There are two ways to straighten it. Either you straighten it yourself, or you will be straightened. Because, I notice, some of you are relaxing. We will now apply a law. I am starting with an experiment. We will start with small experiments, so that you do not get angry later. We will apply the experiments. Then, whoever is weak, we will say to him, stand in line. and those who are strong will come out on top, lest there be a catastrophe. I warn you, you will all go slowly, some will go behind and others ahead. You will go correctly. Now, if you want to progress, to learn something, you must be true to yourself. And that is how you will free yourself from your extraneous thoughts. I want to wake you up once, because most of you here are hypnotized. You are hypnotized, do you understand? Hypnotized? Hypnotized. Some of you are not yet aware that you are hypnotized. There is such hypnotization, I can put a person to sleep and tell him, you will fall asleep in 10 hours. He is awake for 10 hours, walks, talks, but when the 10th hour comes, he falls asleep. Some of you are hypnotized to fall asleep in 10 days, others in 10 years, and some in 1 hour. Now you think that you are masters, but you are hypnotized by those from the Black Lodge who understand the laws. They have hypnotized you. They know that when a favorable moment comes for you to perceive something new, they will hypnotize you at that moment. At the best moment for you, they will produce a disturbance in your consciousness. And often you say, I will pray at this hour. But when you say to pray, you will either fall asleep or scold, and everything goes away. The student must understand, he himself will set out on this path. I have procrastinated a little. My time has passed now by 1 hour. You must observe these laws. Know that there is still quite a big struggle. Now an awakening must take place. An awakening, and each of you must pray in your soul that the Lord may awaken you just in time, so that you may not miss the opportunity. The psalmist says, Lord, set a guard both behind and before, set a guard over my mouth. Interpreted as guard of the mouth is a symbol of love, so that we can use this love, which comes from our soul at a convenient moment. The word is the bearer of divine love. Why is the word? The word is for this reason, to carry this love, so that in it the name of God may be glorified. Once the name of God is glorified, culture will come. Only with the word of God does culture appear in the world. And when we acquire knowledge of these laws, then we will begin to work wisely. We will work wisely. Now half of the 2 weeks have passed. You have 1 more week left. The exercise is not going so well, so let me tell you, you are not doing it so well. Some of you are skipping, especially lunch. Many have skipped this lunch. You do not keep to 12 hours, and the 12th hour is very important. Make sure that you do not skip the 12th hour in the 2nd week. Now someone will say, I did not skip it. I am glad, but I do not want anyone to skip. We do not like people who skip. No skipping. Some of you are taking the work a little lightly, you say. It is nothing. You can do without it. In this regard, the students who are Bulgarians need great accuracy and precision. It requires willpower. If there is anything weak in Bulgarians, it is willpower. And I would like all of you to become like the Germans and the English, punctual. So to the minute, not a single minute late, to acquire this character of punctuality. And so, at least now, the first thing, I want all of you to be punctual. I look here too. At the lessons, when you come, you are getting late, and those who are late knock. Then some come in through the window. I praise the one who came in through the window. That is courage. I praise him. That is good. It is not bad. But you cannot always come in through the window. When the window is open, the student will jump over. He wants to learn. But sometimes the window is closed. Then he will lose. As a last resort, in exceptional cases, I allow him to come in through the window, but I prefer him to come in through the door. Each student must be in his place 5 minutes before the teacher enters, and then for the second time line up according to the following plan. First women will sit on the chairs, then men. 1 row of women, 1 row of men. Do you understand? This is how you will line up, and if I come and find you not in order, we will be silent for 3 hours. I will be silent and you will be silent. We will reflect deeply. Do you understand? We will not say anything. The only punishment that I will apply is that if you make a mistake, you will have a meeting of silence, of contemplation, a whole hour. That is good. And I want you to make a mistake. We will contemplate for an hour. We will be transported to the invisible world. We will contemplate, we will think, how pleasant it will be. And so 1 row of sisters, 1 row of brothers, students' sisters, until the end, and those from the sides, and they will line up according to the same law. It is only for next Thursday. We will make a change in the order of things. TM.